Welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about how I would scale a model to 20k plus if I had to start again. So this is going to kind of just be a video, sort of for beginners, I guess, talking about sort of what I do, um, when I start a new model, kind of what the process is like, and yeah. Now, anything I talk about when it comes to like outreach or even like marketing, keep in mind I have videos specifically for that. So I'm not going to be talking about exactly like how to do Reddit or how to do anything like that, as I have, videos ready for that. But so yeah, you can check them out. But first of all, getting a model obviously is buying from a marketplace, outreach or ads. Obviously there's other ways like, just personal contact, stuff like that. But the main ones are buying from a marketplace, outreach and ads. So first of all, which one would I recommend the most? Probably ads, because it won't cost you as much. And with good ads, you can get tons of models very easily. However, with ads, obviously you can't just pick and choose what model you want. You want to sign, like you can, but you don't get to choose what model DMs you. So you could just be wasting your money on models that you don't want. But like I said, it's a lot cheaper. When you're buying a model from a marketplace, the truth is, if you don't really know, they literally do ads and they sell them for a higher amount, right? So, you're technically just buying from someone that did ads that you could have done. But obviously, the one positive to a marketplace is that you can just pick and choose what model you want. You don't have to spend your money and just hope you might get a good model. You can just get a good model by just buying her straight away from a marketplace. Um, And then obviously outreach as well, obviously is good, is great. But for some people it can take a while. Sometimes there is a little bit of luck involved to it, but at the same time it is a numbers game. That's one thing that a lot of people forget to remember, is that outreach is a numbers game. If you only do 10 DMs a day, then unless you get lucky or you have you DM like a girl with like 10 followers that's somehow trying to market herself, chances are you won't get any replies. So it is a numbers game, but it can take a while either way. Um, but once again, outreach is obviously free. It can be quick, and obviously you can pick, what models you want to DM. So yeah, it kind of depends on the budget. Like, if you got a very big budget, like 4 or 5 figures, then I would say just buy a model. Um, if you have some experience or if you're confident. If you're a complete beginner, then do outreach, or if your budget's low, then do outreach so you don't waste your money. But yeah. So next thing is onboarding. Obviously, our onboarding is I mean, it's pretty simple overall. Obviously, like, we give them some documents and stuff. But pretty much the main thing with onboarding is just, making sure we have access to everything that we need, like the OF account, all that stuff. And then making sure that they have made the the correct content that we need for marketing. So, we'll basically add them to like a Google Drive, and we'll ask them to upload all the content that they have already made. And if there's not enough content, we'll then send them like other folders of content that they can recreate. And then, we'll basically wait for them to recreate that until we actually start marketing. Because if we don't have enough content for marketing, then, there's no point in starting. We'll just wait. Obviously, if they take too long, usually, like for my agency personally, if they take too long, like, any more than like 3 days to make the content we send them, then we just tell them it's not worth our time. But that's just because we're quite strict with it now. But yeah, that's the main part of onboarding, is just making sure you actually have the content and having access to everything you need. And yeah, now picking the best traffic sources to start with. So I usually, like, when people ask me, I always recommend people to start with things like Twitter, Instagram, Threads, because they're very easy to do, and you can get results very easily as well. Um, but obviously, it kind of depends on like the model, how many hours a day she works, what she looks like, all that stuff, right? Some models perform way better on things like Reddit. Some models perform way better on things like IG Reels. Um, Some models perform well on just Twitter, stuff like that, right? So it kind of depends on the model. It can depend on the niche as well. Um, but it's just sort of thing where, like, if you're a complete beginner, I would say the best way to decide is to just kind of decide which traffic or like which platform you kind of have the most experience with, or you think you'd find the easiest. So like, let's say you've known FM before, but you think you know Twitter the most, like you understand how the platform works the most. And then I would say probably start with Twitter, because if you have the most knowledge on Twitter, then you'll probably find Twitter the easiest to start with, right? But yeah, like I was saying, the ones I usually recommend to start with is things like IG Reels, Twitter, and Threads. So um, next point is IG Reels. So IG Reels repurposing and reusing content that works. So this can go two different ways. If you send a model that's already an OF girl, maybe she's already done IG Reels before, maybe she's gone viral before. Um, you can use a spoofer bot or repurposing on like a CapCut to reuse that content that's gone viral. And this is something that we always do, is we basically, with organic platforms, it's sort of just about testing and finding out what content and like what niche works the best for the model, right? And it's not really a thing where you can learn it, if that makes sense. Like, no one can teach you this exactly. It's more just from experience and having the eye for it. Like, you have to have experience and just learn along the way of kind of figuring out or understanding how can like a model go viral, like based on how it looks, based on the way she acts, based on everything. Um, and obviously, also being creative, not understanding how to actually go viral. Like I said, I got a video, I got multiple videos actually about IG, specifically. So I'm not gonna talk too much about full details on how to go viral and stuff here. But yeah, but what we do is usually once we figure out what to do, and we hit a viral video, we'll literally just get her to recreate that exact video in different clothing, ways to improve it, right? So let's say you got 500k views, we'll think of ideas to recreate it, but add something better to it. And we'll get her to recreate it a few times, different clothing, different backgrounds, objects in the background, stuff like that, until we go even more viral. And then we'll also just use CapCut to repurpose it and constantly reuse that same content on multiple accounts. So, while we're scaling, let's say we only had one account at the start or 5 accounts, or whatever it may be. We'll then, while we're scaling, let's say we now have 10 accounts, we'll then post that same video on there as well, and and so on, right? So, like I was saying, scaling, looking into more niches to test for the model, more traffic sources, building a team. So, scaling, obviously, this can go a lot of ways. I've got videos about like full-on scaling, how to build your entire team, all that stuff. But scaling can go so many different ways. Like, if you're just doing IG rows, scaling could be doing more traffic sources, or it could be doing the same traffic source but having more accounts. Building a team, right? Like hiring VAs, training them. Once you've got a really good VA, make that your Instagram VA manager, so that he can then train other VAs for you, and then you can build a very good team for Instagram specifically, and you can scale it that way. Keep growing more and more accounts, and yeah, looking into more niches to test. This goes for pretty much any traffic source really, whether it's Reddit, whether it's IG Reels or anything. Testing out different niches, I think, is always good to do, no matter how deep into it you are with the model. Like, whether you're 1 week in, 3 months in, 1 year in, I think it's always good to try out different things, because otherwise you're just gonna always be stuck at the same point, right? If you're never trying out different things, then you're just gonna always be stuck at like however much you're making. So what I mean by this is, let's say right now you're doing IG Reels, you're doing Reddit, whatever it might be, and you're focusing on marketing her as like a gamer girl, right? Her main niche can still be a gamer girl, but that doesn't mean you can't have other accounts where you post feed content, another account where you have ASMR content, another account where you have, you know, like it can literally be anything, right? Like you can have different accounts for different niches for literally everything, but you can still have a main niche being a gamer girl, for example, like I said. Yeah, so yeah. Now, more traffic sources, obviously, I sort of talked about already, but more traffic sources. Like I said, if you start with what I mentioned earlier, like IG Reels or Twitter or Threads, the best way to scale from there is don't try to do everything all at once. Once you have managed to, make a decent amount of money, like 5 to 10K a month, maybe a bit less, like 3 to 10K a month, from like IG Reels, let's just say. Once you have a team behind it, once you've scaled it, once you can, once you basically automate to a point where you don't have to sit there and post every day yourself to get subscribers, to get traffic, and you have spare time, that's when you should move on, right? You've automated IG Reels, you got your team working, you got your traffic coming into that Earth account, you're making money. At that point, that's when you should, move on and start something else. For example, Twitter, and so on, right? So like once you've done the same with Twitter, you've automated it, then you can move on and do Threads, for example, and then you can move on and do Reddit, right? Um, and yeah, that's literally it, really. Like as simple as that. That is how you can scale more 20K plus, right? Obviously, it sounds very easy, and honestly, it can be easy. Like with the right model, it really can be easy. It's just a lot of people overcomplicate the whole process. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I've got a private group and a free Telegram in the description. Make sure you guys join those. I do a lot of weekly calls in the private group, and there's also some new information coming out this week as well. So make sure you guys join.